So I went out and bought the GoPro Hero 13 Black, and I just thought, yeah, why not? Let's check it out. Let's see what everyone's talking about, because there's a lot of negativity when it comes to this action camera. And is it as bad as everyone's thinking? That's what we're going to try and discuss in this video. What's going on, my friends? I hope you're all doing fantastic. If you are new on my channel, please consider subscribing and giving me a thumbs up. Now, did I board the sinking ship of the Hero 13, especially when it comes to GoPro? GoPro aren't really doing too well over the last few years, and is this camera, quite significant upgrade from the Hero 12? And right from the start, I have to say, no, it's not a significant upgrade, and you probably shouldn't even upgrade to this. But hear me out, there's a few things that I do actually like, and I wish DJI actually implemented some of these things, and there's a few things that I really just don't like, but let's talk about it. So the GoPro Hero 13 Black has a whole bunch of recording frame rates depending on which framing mode you actually choose. It has the same 8x7 shaped sensor, which records a maximum of 5.3K up to 30 frames per second and 4K at 60 frames per second. Then you have 16:9 sensor mode, which gives you 5.3K up to 60 frames per second and 4K up to 120 frames per second. Depending on the frame rate will determine the field of view that will change as well. Now it can record 10-bit internal. It has HDR mode for capturing higher dynamic range. It has the same hyper smooth digital stabilization, which is pretty fantastic. In the Hero 13 Black, you can get for $399 US, and there's a whole bunch of other different bundles you can get that's priced from $449 US all the way up to $609 US. So look, right from the start, you can't actually use the previous GoPro batteries. This one is slightly different, and the older batteries don't actually fit in here. So you actually have to buy brand new batteries if you even have the Hero 12. And GoPro seem to be doing this quite a lot. They seem to be going back and forward when it comes to removable screens, non-removable screens, and obviously the accessories don't even pair with it. That's kind of annoying. Now also, when it comes to this battery port, you do have the micro SD card and the USB-C on the same side. Now you can actually buy an accessory to remove this battery door and actually have some sort of charging magnetic thing on the side, which is just an extra cost. Realistically, like, you just need to buy a whole bunch of batteries and then you can just swap them out. Really basic, and I just don't understand why you would spend that extra money on that. And now this is recording 32-bit float internal into the DJI Mic 2. And yeah, as you saw, I thought I was recording directly into the DJI Mic 2, but you can't. I came home and there wasn't even a file there, and I was like, I swear I pressed record. I had a look at the footage and I'm like, yeah, I definitely pressed record, but then I actually read that you can't actually hit record on your device. That baffles me. Why not? Why not? So then I can't have a 32-bit float file. I actually have to have that 16-bit file that's directly into the GoPro. That does suck. That really does suck. And it's kind of weird. That's like a software block from GoPro. And I guess GoPro are trying to make you buy that media mod that goes on the top where there's like a shotgun microphone. They're probably trying to make you buy that and have, decent audio through that, because if you have audio internally, it's never going to sound as good as a shotgun mic or a wireless microphone. So this is recording with the audio internally on, and there isn't any wind reduction on, so it is very windy right now, so you're probably going to hear a bit of muffling noise, but I'll turn wind reduction on and see what it sounds like. Okay, so we've got wind reduction on now. The wind is pretty much exactly the same as before. It's quite windy, so this should sound a little bit better, but it's definitely not going to be as good as having an external microphone or even the Bluetooth microphone. Maybe it might sound just as good, but yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on this. So I'm going to actually turn the voice isolation, which I guess is just a little bit of wind noise reduction, bit of noise cancelling, so I'll turn that one on. Okay, so now we do have the noise cancelling on, or voice tuning is what GoPro tends to call it. So this should sound a little bit better. But one of the cool things that GoPro have added, which I believe they had it in the 12, is it records a separate WAV file. So it's obviously WAV files definitely have a bit better bit depth when it comes to the audio, so you can just manipulate the audio a lot better than a baked in file inside the GoPro footage. So it's a separate one. You can sync it in post and just do some tweaks, but what does this noise cancelling sound like? So I think one of the most interesting things that I do like about the GoPro is the sensor size. Like, it's a 7x8 sensor, and I can pretty much drive exactly like this and crop in post and allow obviously for Instagram framing, which, you know, is pretty handy because I can actually utilize it for YouTube, but I can also utilize it for Instagram, TikTok, you know, YouTube Shorts. Just that 9x16 format, it just makes it so much easier to crop in because you're not losing so much on your 16x9 if you're trying to crop a 9x16 into a 16x9. So yeah, it just makes it so much easier to reframe. So my initial thoughts when it comes to the image quality, I mean, it's nothing incredible. It still is an action camera after all, and it's a relatively small sensor. It's not like the Osmo Pocket 3 with a 1-inch sensor. But you know, the Action 4 does seem to do a slightly better job in my opinion. The Ace Pro does a better job when it comes to the image quality. Like, it's still fine, you still gotta give it heaps of light. When it comes to the low light situations, this is where things get a little bit complicated. It's pretty bad when it comes to the low light, and I really wouldn't use it when it starts to get dark. Even in some of these dusk situations, it's pretty difficult with the dynamic range, but you know, it's not bad. If you are capturing it in some action sports, it's still going to be a really good image. Except for the 4K at 100 or 120 frames per second, I really don't like the image. It's very digitally sharp. It kind of loses that resolution. It doesn't look great at all, in my opinion. I do think it sort of looks the best at 4K 25 or 50 frames per second. And when it comes to other accessories, this is where we have to talk about the macro lens. There's the anamorphic lens, you know, ND filters that are extra cost. It seems like GoPro are trying to sell you a whole bunch of accessories that I don't think a lot of people are actually going to be buying, because realistically, it's the same sensor. It's a 7x8 sensor or 8x7 sensor. It still has that 5.3K at 120 frames per second. The image quality, I mean, it's okay. It's not incredibly amazing if you do compare it to the Action 4 or if you do compare it to the Ace Pro. Like, those cameras I personally think look better. This one seems to be quite digitally sharp, but if you do dial in the settings, you can make it look, you know, fairly decent. Now, there's one thing I do like on the GoPro, but it isn't included in my version, but it's pretty much a magnetic clip like the DJIs have. So I've got the Action 4 here. All you need to do is clip it in, and then you can literally magnetic unclip it off. It's just so much easier to mount it and dismount it, as opposed to, you know, the standard finger and trying to wind it in and out. That gets really, really annoying. But the thing that I like is that there is a 1/4-20 mount in the bottom there, whereas the DJI Action 4 doesn't have that 1/4-20 mount. Even if you put the cage that sort of comes with it, it doesn't have that as well. So you kind of have to have a finger mount that has a 1/4-20 screw on there. So I wish DJI actually implemented that within their camera. But same again, there's a whole nother accessory that you have to buy for the GoPro to be able to get that magnetic clip, which is so frustrating. Now, one thing I do have to commend GoPro for is the touchscreens. They're far better than they used to be. I used to have so much problems with their touchscreens and it's just not responding to what I'm actually doing, but it's actually pretty decent. It's still not as good as the Action 4 and the Ace Pro when it comes to the touchscreens, but it is so much better than it actually used to be. So definitely well done there, but still, you just have that little bit more to get better touchscreen, better sensitivity in these action cameras. So look, at first look, would I recommend this GoPro? I mean, if you have the 10, 11, and 12, absolutely not. It's not worth, you know, upgrading. It's not a significant upgrade to need the 13. I wouldn't waste my money on it, and definitely not waste my money on all the accessories that's coming. Like, the anamorphic lens doesn't even look great. The macro lens is meh. It's still a wide angle lens with a macro capabilities. It's very strange. I don't personally like it. Maybe you do. I just don't want to sound like a GoPro hater right now. I just don't think this is worth the upgrade. If you have that 10, 11, 12, stick with it. If you have the earlier models, this is where you would probably consider it. But you know, overall, it's still a decent action camera. It's just when you're actually comparing it to the other action cameras like the Action 4 and the Ace Pro, they're just better action cameras. They just have better accessories, and overall you just have a better user experience, and that's really what matters at the end of the day. But anyway, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up. I will try and put this up against the Action 4 or maybe the Ace Pro as well, just so you guys can see the image quality and the feature sets and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, stay tuned for that one, and yeah, see you guys in the next one. Let's get it.